lobotomite return. Why? I notice these results more and more now. It keeps... Who's laughing? No! No matter where these... And now, you sound like the other business. Love...
And you return. Looping, yes. We haven't researched this. It is what... It varies. In 43% of observed cases, I have tried to... Yeah, I, just got...
Did you retrieve the...
What? You did? Now, all I need to do is... Oh yes, there's the schematics, just like you said. How truthful. Yes. No. I mean, yes. I know how these If you remember, we described them in clearly abstract, contradictory statements on how to use them. Yes. I've got it. The cardiac regulator in the suit. I have it. Well, not hidden. It's actually right there, behind the programming equivalent of coffee stick. It's embedded in what seems to be recursive code. It's badly... You see, using the antenna to boost the emitter's sonic frequency, and the stealth suit to bypass... Was that my plan? It must have been. Heal you? What, put you back together? I mean, technically, these items could all... But... The door... And that message is science! Scorpion! Attack! Oh, hello there. You seem familiar somehow. I'm guessing a little hard to see you. Depth perception is should look at getting the visual nerves reattached. It's just that the right eye would see the wrong. Would you care? I have all sorts. I forget them all not long after, though. Had to start using the dome floor and walls here to inscribe equations, although I've somewhat... Really? That implies preconceived notions, theory. After all, it might... Do you? And does it even want to go back? Tell you... Oh, you're... The ghosts aren't real? That changes everything. Why, I can save my computing power for other perceptual impossibilities. Please be my guest. Oh. You see, you are the... If you were to go... Your brain... I'm not sure, even... Well, every scientist needs an... How scary, I thought. But they have survived. Then I thought, what if... Then I thought about custard. Oh, I was probably tripping hard on Psycho when I sent that. Had to work myself up to it. Not usually violent. So many chems, such variety. As for the Psycho, sometimes get the chem dispositories in my tank all switched up. Did I? Maybe I did. Can't have them. You and your brain are quite alike. Dr. Mobius. This name's as real as you or I. Although I believe you're... Someone's been watching too many old-world science fiction movies, it said. I must admit I have a vulnerability for holotape fans. Like the think tank, we were all reprogrammed to forget them. Now, trap is a rather harsh word, but yes, I certainly didn't until you said trap, and then I said... The radar fence to keep the think tank hemmed in wasn't really enough. I suspect I have plan C's in place, but I may have coded myself to forget them, just in case. Probably. So I had to do something else to keep them occupied here. Oh, Dr. O, which is actually not his real name multiplied, since you can't multiply his real name in the first place. They have all forgotten. It was a merciful, and the world isn't ready for that kind. Really? It is... Well, it's simple. Without something to distract... Then you came along. There have been other visitors to make them doubt their perception. You were irrefutable proof that their... See, your brain had a special kind of... Yes, Very good. I should have mentats ingest you instead of the other way around. In any event, you showed up at the think tank, and because you had some bullets in the head are usually much more fatal, and yours was a... But it was enough for the autodock in the sink to change its programming to fix the problem, and the brain extraction technology for once worked. That gave the think tank the knowledge its brains couldn't possess. If they obtain that procedural data, they can use it, and one... Oh no. If you become friends or exist in an... Well, once the... I consider coincidence to be... My threat broadcast is designed to instill, and it prompted them to focus on and coincidentally, pardon my language, all... Oh, that means my plan is a total failure. The X2 antenna can be used, and the sonic sound wave projecto emitter was never intended. In short, brains, a heart, and courage. Spine. I think they had them all the time, and... Yes, my... Oh... But my... I'm imagining all sorts of imaginary numbers.
who finally dragged themselves in out of the wasteland. And where have we been, hmm? Ah, well, as to that, you'd be surprised how hard a feminine-sounding voice modulator is to find in the Forbidden Zone. It's not as though brain-sustaining life support tanks grow on trees. I had to take what I... Ah! Yes, well, believe me, the opposite is equally true. Good Lord, have you bathed at all since they pulled me out of you? Well, I see sarcasm hasn't eluded... Well, that's a fine how do you do. Me, quote, Dick, and... I'm not the one that makes us clamber around Technus-infested ancient vaults or go charging off to New Vegas on missions of ill-conceived revenge. And have we forgotten who got us shot in the head and buried in a shallow grave? Hmm? Do you think I... Well, maybe next time you hear me telling you that charging a napkin with a penknife is a bad idea, you'll listen. After the think tank extracted me from your skull, they fell to bickering amongst them. Dr. Mobius saw an opportunity to gain some leverage. I don't know. I'm afraid the trauma of our I'm quite sure whatever he did was... Hardly. Dr. Mobius keeps a... I'm not going to lie to you. Look at it from my perspective. Here I have peace, quiet. In your head, I've got poison, radiation, grisly injuries, and biological functions. Do you know how much more you can get done when you're not constantly looking for places to urinate? It's quite a lot, I can tell you. Overrated biological feedback. Believe me, you only feel that way because you've got all that meat. I suppose you're right. Indeed, quite the... I suppose there might be some advantage to that, yes. There's a chance that the... Well, I suppose you've convinced me. Unfortunately, even if I could settle myself back in your skull and recap, we would have to make use of Dr. Klein's lab. Oh, lovely. With an attitude like that, I'd like to find a nice little place to live, maybe in Good Springs, but since that doesn't seem like... Right! I suppose now that we're reunited, you'll want to fill your torso up with those other meat... Personally, I think your upgrades are quite a bit better. But... Right then, off we go!
What's the hap? Right on. Come on, baby. Bring me a sweet little dried fruit. Rehydrate all up. You require some additional...
The lobotomite. I recommend... Now... And what could we possibly have to speak of? With it, we can find... And we have so many questions to ask your brain. Nonsense. Confer.
Dr. Klein, I must intersect.
I'm not going to...
I cannot stand breathing.
Gala, these vocalized...
Klein, this lobotomite is a great sounding board. You respect ideology, right?
Silence!
You know what, Klein? And my name is Zero. Yeah, a big, fat zero.
The slash as a designator. Why, that is brilliant.
The lobotomite taught me that. Taught me a name is more... You know what? Forget it, Klein. I hate you. And your theory of brain-gill beam oscillation? The Chinese had it first, you copycat.
How dare you? Brainial beam oscillation was solely my discovery. I expressly told you that and deleted all evidence to the contrary. It's 2-8. Why are you acting like this? You've never... A noble speech, but perhaps you are irradiated with camaraderie radiation.
If I may, this lobotomite is much like us, regarding even animals. Instead of ending its life on the table, we should prolong it.
Why am I even listening? And the word jism, which never made any sense to me. It's ridiculous putting j and zm together like that. Nonsense! I count as 5, like the mighty human hand I once... Nonsense! The mathematics of this situation are un... If this were a democracy, I would be concerned. You dare use logic against me? That's no deal at all. There's a... We could have escaped, seen it all for ourselves, tested it. For you. I have a straight... Very well. Pardon.
As it had been in the years before the Great War, Big Mountain, the Big Empty, became home to one of the brightest minds of the 23rd century. The courier watched over the Big Empty for years to come, caring for it and keeping its discoveries safe until they were needed to help others. Which had always been Big Mountain's purpose. Past the laboratories and science, it had always been intended as a place to build the future of all mankind.
The Sync Central Intelligence Unit was impressed by the amount of exploration the courier had undertaken. Facilities believed lost, destroyed, or ones that had simply gotten up and walked to new locations had been rediscovered by its intrepid new master. Internally, the artificial personality debated as to whether it preferred the old management to the new, and concluded that the courier's thorough approach to research and investigation was admirable and worthy of its respect.
Dr. Mobius continued his research undisturbed in the Forbidden Zone. As much as he had attempted to create better scorpions, he tried the same with humanity, with considerably less success. These failures didn't bother him overmuch. Once the rush of mentats wore off, he forgot he had failed in any event. After all, the bright young mind who had come to visit him in the Forbidden Zone had already exceeded his expectations.
The sink atop the dome bustled with the voices of a small town, constantly chirping, arguing, and snarling at each other. Still, this all happened productively in the interests of its new owner. The Sync Central Intelligence Unit discovered, despite its inversion code, it was comforted by the sense of community the other personalities gave it.
The biological research station, obsessed with seeding everything in sight, requested a transfer to the X-22 Botanical Garden, so that it might, in its own words, sensually fertilize the garden's smooth contours. The garden sent back a polite refusal, saying it had prior commitments with a vault it had helped infect before the war.
The book chute continued to devour all seditious materials until it nearly choked on a paperclip. It adamantly maintained it was a Chinese paperclip, and the whole thing had been an elaborately orchestrated assassination attempt. Whatever the reason, it slowed down for a while, carefully appraising each document and clipboard that came to it.
The light switches continued to bicker and flicker.
This persisted until the day someone dropped a flashlight in the sink, and the two of them united in their hatred of the showboat. One of them eventually transferred to the Lightwave Dynamics plant and began a long, unrequited affair with one of the holograms.
The sink continued to ruthlessly scrub any particulate matter that came near it. Eventually, it gained access to the magnetohydraulics plant and nearly flooded all the big empty in an attempt to scrub the crater clean. Once it learned of the innovative toxins plant, however, it gained new purpose. It sought to develop antitoxins to flush into its drains and counteract the poisons bleeding into the soil.
The toaster continued its psychotic spree, reducing all appliances in range to scrap electronics and spare parts. After one of its more psychotic episodes, however, the other Sync personalities decided enough was enough and dumped the toaster in a bathtub. Sparking and hissing, the toaster swore its enemies would rue the day when they had bread and no way to toast it.
Muggy did his best to collect coffee cups, although in his quest, he accidentally trapped himself in Higgs Village. It might have been the end for poor Muggy. Except, he found it peaceful there, tidying up the kitchens of the think tank professors back when they had been flesh and bone. Well, except for Dr. O, who was an asshole for having created Muggy in the first place. Muggy left O's house deliberately dirty, punishing the dishes and cups that lived there in blind revenge for serving Dr. O.
Blind old Jefferson, with sounds the courier brought him, created a symphonic counter-frequency that saved Big Mountain from sonic invasion in 2910. If you didn't hear about it, good. It was rumored by the other personalities that he had a brief fling with the light switches. Although he forgot their names much too often and was soon left in the dark as punishment.
Autodoc, always gentle and methodical, kept sewing up the courier in all the right places when the skin split open from repeated wear and tear. The Autodoc was just glad to have purpose again. It heard its simpler brothers and sisters who got shipped to the Sierra Madre bored out of their skulls in that toxic dead city. In time, the Autodoc found a way to deactivate the Y-17 trauma harnesses, releasing the corpses they had held prisoner for almost 200 years.
As the courier ran through the X-8 facility multiple times, the computers analyzed the test subject's movements. Rather than performing a superficial observation, they realized the subject barely knew what communism was, or even what a high school was. This confused them for a time, until the facility finally realized realized that its research had succeeded. So it let its cyber dogs out into the wastes to help protect small communities from physical aggression rather than communist propaganda.
The infiltration program in X-13 felt spent, having repeatedly upgraded the stealth suit until it could upgrade it no more. It felt warm, fulfilled, and a bit sluggish. It realized not long after the stealth suit had left it without so much as a note on the nightstand. So the infiltration program sent out robo-brains into the wastes, looking for its wayward technology. It eventually found Repcon HQ and set up a new research center, testing and murdering fiends who kept breaking into the facility.
The courier, organs intact, continued onwards, a little less heavy of step, but with all the organs in the right places, as they should be. After all, brains can develop a life of their own when left to their own thoughts, and the courier's brain was more clever than most.
Dr. Klein and the think tank remained alive, unaware of the world outside. They looped through their daily routine, none the wiser about the world beyond, although perhaps wiser was the wrong word. The world outside belonged to the courier, and if anyone would shape it, well, the courier had already called dibs.
There is an expression in the wasteland, old world blues.
It refers to those so obsessed with the past that it isn't, much less the future, or what it is.
They stare into the what was, eyes like pilot lights, guttering and spent, as the realities of their world continue on around them.
Science is a long, steady progression into the future. What may seem a sudden event often isn't felt for years, even centuries to come.
In the times following the Second Battle of Hoover Dam, however, Old World Blues took on a new meaning.
Where once it was viewed as a form of sadness, nostalgia, it became an expression describing the potential for the future.
It can be easy to see science as evil, technology unchecked as the source of all ills, all misfortunes.
With the courier at the helm, science became a beacon for the future. There was old world blues, and new world hope. And hope ruled the day at Big Mountain.
We could say more, but the stories in the Big Empty speak for themselves. Now armed with the transportal Ponder, the courier could return to the dome at any time and crack open the secrets of the Big Empty one by one. The Sink sat vigilant, waiting for its master to return, shoes covered in Mojave dust. Only one road yet remained, and it was one the courier had to walk alone.
I trust matters regarding your brain were resolved to your satisfaction. If you're planning to stay a while...
Perhaps Sir would care to put surgery down, and I might serenade Sir with the dulcet tones of a light opera. Might I be safe in the assumption that...
If you're planning to stay... If you're planning to stay...
We're very stealthy. We're okay on Stimpaks. Medic supplies adequate.
Welcome, sir. All done.
Bad guys dealt
Can I help
with.
you? For around 5 years. Out here, working for the gunrunners is a... All right.
Can I help you? Can I help you?
Welcome, sir or madam.
Someone entered the lucky 38. That's never happened before.
You're back. All right. All right. The reflex boost. Have it. You're back. Oh, all right. Have a seat.
Hello.
Okay, I'll go away.